Alright, so in this video I'm bringing you a deck profile of an original deck I created called Performage Dino Hamster. I say original, but it is very similar to the popular Performage Pendulum deck. I made this deck from scratch with an idea I had based around like Dino Rabbit, basically using these guys. And I made it from scratch, but it ended up being very similar to Performage Pendulum just because what they're doing works. So I was waiting until I had all the cards on hand to make the deck, but I'm probably not going to be able to get all the cards until I'm back home from college. So instead of waiting, I'm just going to do the deck profile while I'm missing some of the cards. So to start off, you run the Performage engine with I'm going through all the pendulums first. So you got the triple of both of them because they're like the best scales right now, except for the magicians. But like, I'm not running magicians in this. I'm focused around the Performage engine a lot more. And aside from those, these are like two of the best pendulums. This works extremely well with Luster, and it's just a really strong scale. And this is probably the best low scale at the moment. So, for the Performage build at least. So that's pretty standard. And then 3 Luster Pendulum Dragons. It's Luster Pendulum the Draco Slayer. That's what it's called. And once again, I don't have those here, but this is really good because it works obviously with Flush Fire for big combos, and that's pretty obvious. The main reason I like this actually is honestly because it makes Ignister, and Ignister is a really good out to the Cosmo stuff. There's really not a good out to the Cosmo stuff besides Ignister, honestly. So you run that, and then the Dino Hamster engine, 3 of him and 2 of this. So you kind of need to run max out 3 of this, 3 of the Mirror Conductor, and 3 of the Plush Fire because they work so well with Luster Pendulum Dragon. Having multiples, you can pop one and search the second one. And then the other reason you want to run 3 is because you need 3 for this to work, because you need to have 1 in your extra deck and 2 still in your deck. So this is actually kind of awkward to pull off, but it's not as hard as you would think. All you really need is like this plus any other pendulum and then Wavering Eyes, and then you get this off of Wavering Eyes and you go for a first turn Logia. And Logia and Dolka are actually both really strong in this format. Logia is the preferred play when you're going for a lockdown, and Dolka is the preferred play when you're going for an OTK, because Dolka can negate stuff like Damage Juggler, so you can OTK basically through whatever. You can also make Dolka if you have an out to the Cosmo stuff. So like, say you have 3 of these, whatever. You can. That's just as an example of an out. You can make a Dolka and then leave the other one. Crash this into their ship. This effect will cause the ship to die, and then Dolka will negate the effect in the grave, so they won't float. Speaking of their effect on the field is actually really good. This is pretty much the best low scale besides the Magician stuff. So a lot of people play this in the Performage stuff anyways, even if they're not going this. I like this because, I mean, worst comes to worst, it's a high scale, and you can just use it as that, and it's a body. But in an ideal situation where you can normal summon this and go for like a rank 4 play with whatever you summon, you get that, plus this is in your extra deck, so you can just Pendulum summon as a body to use later. I'm only playing 2, 'cause I don't feel like you need 3. It kind of clogs a little bit, and you can't actually use it on itself, so there's not really any reason. And then the only other scales I'm running are 1 part Naga and 1 Lizard Draw, and those are just obvious because they're high in low scales that are searchable by King the Feral Imps. The effects are really not relevant. Sometimes you use this one. And then the Performage engine. So triple Damage Juggler. This card is amazing right now. I want to play this in basically every deck. and then 1 Hat Tricker and 1 Trick Clown to search. You don't need more than 1. But you do need both add 1, because you do need to search them with this sometimes. A lot of times, though, you'll end up searching the scales with this. So, yeah, this is like negates Wavering Eyes, protects you from getting OTK'd, does everything. And then I'm playing 1 Masked Chameleon, because Ignister is really good, and this is searchable by King of the Feral Imps. You don't use its effect when you summon this, you just Pendulum summon this, and then use it to synchro with. Yeah, it's extremely important, actually. And then, for the familiars, 2 Gigabytes and 1 Nefarious Archfiend Eater. So, searchable by King of the Feral Imps and floats into this, and these are both good for just easy rank 4s. And then, finish out the monster lineup, not really a monster, but triple Max C. Max C is at least useful against everything, which is more than you can say about most traps. So I like it in the main deck because of that. And it also happens to be really good against the Performage mirror match when you're playing against any Performage variants. And it happens to be really good against anything rogue like Burning Abyss. So Burning Abyss rogue is kind of weird. You can side this out against like Cosmo and Magispector, probably. I think I would normally do that. But it's useful to have in the main deck, because you can at least 1-for-1 it in those matchups, and then you have it already in the main deck against things where it's good against. For the spells, triple Wavering Eyes, because this card's broken. You always want to have this when you're going against a different Pendulum deck. And even when you're not, it's still good to destroy your own scales. If you have Plush Fire, it's good. And it searches for you whatever Pendulum scale you need, basically. This is the best way of searching Luster, Pendulum, Dragon, which is very important. And then triple MST, because MST is good again. I had not been main decking this for a long time, but with the rise of Pendulums, it's useful to have to take out your opponent's scales. And it's pretty much useful against everything. Cosmo's the main deck that doesn't really like using back row. But everything plays usually at least Vanities and Warning. And this is good for taking out Floodgates too, when necessary. A lot of rogue decks main deck them. And then 1 Foolish, because if you're playing the Performages, Foolish is obviously great. For the traps, very small trap lineup because not very many traps are good anymore. 2 Time Space Trap Holes. This is good against Cosmo and against Pendulums, so I like it because of that. Basically, you need to play stuff that doesn't target and also doesn't destroy. That's the main thing that you need to do, which limits you severely. 1 Storming Mirror Force. I would be playing 2 of these in the main deck if I had to, but I only own 1. But this card's really good. It's good against Cosmo. It's good against Magispector. It's good against everything that plays extra deck monsters. So, yeah. It doesn't target, doesn't destroy. It's very good for, like, protecting yourself, I guess. There's one point where, like, I was playing against the mirror, so the Pendulum Performage, and they, like, went in through Max C to OTK me. They would have been able to OTK me even if I had Damage Juggler, but I had this, and they didn't get rid of it, so they ended up losing the next turn. And then Vanities and Warning. The only 2 traps that I think are truly still good. Like, the other traps I play are still decent, but these 2 are good. So, those traps are the 2 best ones at the moment. And that's it for the main deck. For the side deck, I'll start with the generic rank 4s. King of the Feral Imps. These are roughly in the order I make them, also. So this is really good searches for Gigabytes, the high or low scale, or for Masked Chameleon. So lots of stuff I can search for. And then I'm playing 2 Castel. You kind of need 2 Castel now that Exciton is banned, because you need more removal. This is good for getting rid of scales and stuff like that. 101. It's usually the same thing as Castel, but better in certain situations. 1 Emerald. Putting your Pendulums back in your deck after making Exceeds with them is nice. Emerald is pretty important, I think. 1 Diamond Direwolf. basically, this is the best way to get rid of back row. You can bait out back row with this. That's mainly what that's for. That's another card that you're playing mainly because Exoton is banned. And then Dweller. This is good against Cosmo, is the main thing, but it's also good against rogue stuff. One Crab King. The main reason you play this is that this can crash with Dark Destroyer if you're desperate, basically. And then for the not generic stuff, we got one Trapeze Magician. This card is really good. I make this a lot. I like extra deck monsters that float. One Logia and one Dolka. They're both pretty nice to have as options. Two of the Magister Paladin. Two might not be totally necessary, but there's not really anything I want to play instead of it. And I have actually made two in the same game before. At least one is super important, though, because this thing is really great, being able to search for any pendulum. I think it's really underrated right now, actually. And then two Ignister. You do need two Ignister. I've made both of these in the same game a lot. This is probably the best removal right now, and this is super important against Cosmo in particular. For the side deck, I've got triple Denko Sekka. Denko Sekka is ridiculous, and you can easily play it in here. You're playing hardly any traps, and you do not necessarily need your normal summon. The only reason it's actually not in the main deck is because there's a lot of decks that don't really play very many traps, including Pendulum decks and Cosmo. So, two Fiendish Chain. This is for Rogue. It's really bad against the meta, but it's still good against Rogue decks. I like being able to side in something that's super generic like this when I go up against those. Two Grand Horn of Heaven. I like this mainly against big Pendulum summons, and it's also good against things that are heavily based around the extra deck. Like if you go up against a Rogue Satellar Knight match, this is a good card to have. Except for the fact that they can Nova Alpha it, but if they don't have that, it's good. Two Mistake. I search a lot, but if you're going up against Rogue Necros or non-Rogue Magispector, then this like just totally shuts them down, and it hurts them way harder than it hurts you, and you can just win games because you have this. So I like it because it hurts the deck, but not severely. You can still play while it's up. Triple Imperial Iron Wall. The only thing this hurts is Damage Juggler, so this hurts decks like Cosmo way more than hurts you, and this is essentially a must at the moment. And then Triple Typhoon. This is my extra spell trap removal of choice right now because you can use this first turn if you're going second against Pendulum decks to break their scales, to counter to like Wavering Eyes, to counter to Luster Pendulum, lots of stuff. And I feel like this will be even better once the Breakers of Shadows comes out. So yeah, I think this is a great option as basically just a hand trap that you can use to destroy spawn trap cards, which the only other thing that could possibly do that is Ghost Ogre, Dino Rabbit, and I think this is just better because you don't have to wait for something to activate to destroy it. Yeah, so that's my deck. It plays similar to standard Performage Pendulum decks, obviously, but I think that the Dino Hamster engine, as I call it, works pretty well. So I definitely enjoy playing this deck. I am going to be taking a break from it though, because the Magician stuff just came out. So I am going to be playing some Magician Ninja deck stuff. So look forward to that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to check out some other stuff.